Hello, everyone, and good morning, and welcome to our stream. It was kind of an opportunity. I wasn't going to do a stream this weekend, but I figured, it's a perfectly good time. Kind of had a sort of a time opportunity. So I figured if I get it in now, I don't have to worry about it a little later on. We're going to be flying the excellent Aerosoft 600 today. This is not Aerosoft. I'm going to say that about 100 times. The Aerostar 600, which is a neat plane. I've also got a whole boatload of trivia about Tasmania all queued up and ready to go. And of course, for those of you who'd like to join us on our flight today, I have enabled all players. I am sitting here in a lovely, lovely, like I said, Tasmania. Our airport today is Yankee Mike Hotel Bravo. This Hobart Airport. Very, very quiet. We are about as far south in Australia as you possibly can. And we have this really, really neat plane, and we're going to be fiddling around with it quite a bit today, and getting the opportunity to kind of basically cross the entire island that is Tasmania, which is pretty wild. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. One thing I love about this is the attention to detail. I just updated it this morning. They just had a big update that they were talking about. So they kind of tweaked some things. So I just got to be kind of mindful that it might be a little different than I've already started kind of getting used to. So let's do it to it. Again, this is always fun. When you climb under here, by the way, on a nice hot day, you destroy your knees and basically burn it on here. But it's been very interesting with this plane. And like I said, it's been cool. It's been really, really cool. I love the detail here. I love the fact I can tell you I've got a little less than 9 quarts there, which isn't too bad. The color looks pretty good too. I've definitely put some hours on this plane, even though like I've joked before in some of the other videos, I kind of gone ahead and deleted my hours half the time. But it's been pretty cool. It's been pretty cool. You're not supposed to touch this one. Why is this so stiff? That's a problem. It should be a little more wiggly. I should go check that out. Actually, while I'm over on this side, let's go take a look at how much fuel we've got too. Should be pretty full today. Fuel doesn't come in that color, but I appreciate the thought. All right, I like the fuel system on this airplane. Basically, every engine pulls out of the middle, which is kind of wild in my opinion. It's definitely not something I'm used to as far as that goes. Let's see, is this going to behave? Yeah, it looks good to me. Let's go bring this to the center. I don't know why that one's being fiddly, but that's okay. I see no water. All right, we're good. Excellent. Swing around the back here. Go ahead and get her tail down, tie down. One of the most embarrassing things I've ever done is start an airplane with still having the tie down connected to it. I didn't think it was funny then, and it's still not funny now. Just kind of one of those things. All right, let's go swing along this side. All right, antennas look pretty good. I don't know why these aren't responding like that. I hope I didn't mess up something with my controls. Probably something I did earlier. I'm not going to worry about it too much. All right, go climb over the top here. We'll go ahead and pop that sucker open. And I'm going to go down here, pull that out while I'm at it. Propeller spinners look good. I like how you have to kind of climb on the inside here. The interesting thing is that because of the way this engines or the aircraft is modeled here, one of the engines is actually stronger than the other engine, and it's very, not only is it authentic, it's obnoxious. I actually had to completely reformat and reformware my joystick for the purposes of basically being able to run the two engines separate from each other. All right, that's looking pretty good here. That's looking on the front wheels. Seeing a little bit of abuse here. You can see it's not riding quite as high as it was before. Too bad. All right, let's go ahead and climb inside and go ahead and get everything started here. All right. So first things first, I'm going to close the door, and I don't want to be opening this door. I love the little warning they give you on the side of this door. This is very much a product of interesting design. See the problem? And I think that's interesting. But one thing I like about this is it's, even though this is technically a modern plane, it very much feels like a 1960s airplane. It's got, I mean, the seats look good and all that other kind of stuff. You might appreciate that. But like, there's not a lot of room here. This thing was definitely not really designed to fit things like modern GPSs and stuff like that. But we'll kind of run through it. It's also a pain in the butt to start. And I hope I can get it started for you, because sometimes it does defeat me and frustrates me pretty well. All right, let's go ahead and make sure everything is the way it needs to be before we get going here. I appreciate the little headphones. I'll log in there. All right, this looks fine to me. Just confirming a couple little things. I want to make sure that's back. Those should all be reset. I don't know why that's in that position, but I'm not too worried about that. That's interesting. Interesting. I have no response from my left joystick. That is going to be a problem. I have no response here either. Let me go see what's going on with my controls here. If anything goes wrong, no, it definitely says that it's there. I don't think anything got reset at any point. I can always shut things off and turn them back on too to see if that makes a difference. Well, that's a little weird. Interesting. Give me just a second. I apologize, everyone. Let's see what I can do here. L-axis. We're just going to confirm that that is okay. I can always restart the plane too. Like I said, sometimes you get weirdness like this, but that's okay. Hardware settings, that should be okay. Nope, that is not recognizing any of my inputs. Interesting. Can we just have a second, folks? I'm just going to quickly do that. All right, the plot thickens. So my buttons work fine. It's my axis which is not being recognized here. I wonder if that's something to do with the plane. All right, let's go run through it again real quick. I can always restart it. And again, I apologize. It was not doing this. Oh! That makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense. Sorry about that, everyone. A black square really raised the bar. A2A's got to step up their game. They're lagging behind. None of your business. You've got an excellent point there. I actually agree to you to an extent. There are definitely a lot of really, really... Ooh, my head's stuck inside my head here. Interesting. All right, we shall do the speed version. Did it fix everything? Hey, it fixed everything. Excellent. I actually agree with you to an extent. One thing I think they did a really, really, really nice job with in this game is everything feels a little bit more like, wear and tear kind of a thing like that. The A2A plane, I should say the black square planes are absolutely, absolutely fabulous. The big difference I find is they feel a little bit more mechanical. This feels a little more natural, but again, it's how you do judge feel inside of an actual airplane kind of a thing like that. All right, everything else should be okay. We'll do a quick little inspection to make sure nothing broke. I don't think anything broke in the 10 seconds we had to fiddle with this thing. All right, go check here, go check here. Everything looks good to me. Everything looks good. All right, now we can start it. Sorry about that, everybody. All right, getting this thing started is an interesting process, to say the least. It is definitely finicky. I use the classic cheap strategy to get it going, but everybody kind of has their own approach to it. All right, we'll turn on our bacon light. We'll hit our master battery switch. We'll make sure that's on. That sounds good. This is one of those, if you listen to it, it's almost easier to start. All right, we'll go ahead and get our fuel turned on each side. There we go. Go get our keys turned on each side just to make it a little easier. So we have to prime, and priming's pretty easy on this aircraft. Basically, what you're going to do, throttle goes forward, and you crank these. 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, and you're going to go ahead and pull them both back. We're going to crack this sucker. I find that if you fiddle with it as you crank it, it works better, like I said. But one of the things you can do is you can actually leave this throttle like this and actually leave this like half mixture and then crank it. All right, that is one very flooded engine. We'll go try the other one. Oh my goodness. There it is. Nice. I knew I'd get it. All right, let's see if we can get our left engine going now. Like I said, I think it's really badly flooded. Let's take a look. I bet you it's really, 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 really badly flooded. Yes, it is awfully full. I see how flooded it is. So the way we unflood an engine, of course, just open up the throttle and crank it until it unfloods itself. The problem is when you go to unflood it, it catches. There it is. Both engines are started. Fabulous. Nice. All right, alternators are set. Now we can start playing the avionics game. A lot of little details. I really, really like the fact that they got correct in this. Like I said, I get such a kick out of it. But master avionics, we're going to get our automatic trim. You have a DG slave mode. Cool thing here is that we still got to read it off the compass, though. So I got to read this. This is about 220 degrees-ish. Down here, go ahead and make a quick little adjustment. About 220. There's actually a little needle here that makes it a little bit easier, like that. Fantastic. So that's going to kind of re-straighten itself as it gets going. So with that going, let's go ahead and lean the mixture that we spent so much time to get correct. There we go. And we'll just let it kind of sit here for a few moments as that kind of settles. We'll pop the fuel boost off. We don't need it right now. But you'll see that a couple little switches got nailed when you hit the buttons. The thing I love about realistic start airplanes is it's realistic. The thing I don't love about realistic start airplanes is I don't have enough hands. And that's a very, very common problem with these kind of planes. All right. It is a little cold outside today, so we'll take a couple moments to kind of get the heat on. Heat on in this plane is kind of interesting because if you crank it too hard, it gives you all sorts of hilarious problems. Let's see, 40%. We'll do 45% for victory here. All right, engines are started. You can already see that one engine is running at a different speed than the other engine. Doesn't surprise me, one's colder than the other. And again, our friend None of Your Business was mentioning earlier, the black square people are doing a really, really good job with that, especially with the Turbine Duke. All right, that looks good there. That's warming up. Let's get all of our switches done. Kind of annoyed that I have to run around hit every switch afterwards, but like, kind of is what it is, kind of sort of thing like that. We have the KLN90 option because why would I pick anything other than the KLN90? Actually, what I was doing the other day is flying instrument flights with this airplane, basically just using traditional instruments with no GPS on it. And it is pretty darn wild. Like I said, I get so impressed with this plane in that sense. All right, 92. Let's go down to this. We'll go down this. Like I said, I love this thing. Boop, boop. It didn't do the beep, beep, but that's okay. All right, we're going to be on navigation 1 on the left, and we're going to be on navigation 5 on the right, which is just, I don't know, it's just how I do it. It's how I got things set up when I first used the KLN90 basically 10 years ago. All right, that looks good to me. We'll go up to about 20. Direct. All right, direct to, we are traveling to Yankee, Sierra, Romeo, November today. Let's go ahead and get that dialed in. Unfortunately, when you do these lovely frame blending and things like that, where it does a nice job of generating flames, it makes everything really smooth looking. It makes it really hard to do numbers. Like I said, there's still, I think, kind of sorting those things out, but that's okay. It's like when you're doing stuff like this, you're not sure if you like overshot the number or like, you know what I mean. It's just one more of those things, as they say, LMNOP SRN, enter, and that should get us a distance of about 106. Like I said, about a half-hour flight today, a little shorter. Like I said, this is a little more impromptu, and it's going to tell us to do 276. So let's go get that set up. A mistake I always do is I grab the wrong one here. All right, 276 is going to be 12 right there. It looks pretty good to me. It's going to tell me that we have some issues here. MSG, everything looks good. Everything looks good. Engine's warming up fine. Again, my left engine is just slightly weaker than my right engine. And one of the things I find really interesting is if you come over here, you'll notice it's probably the fuel pump, because the fuel pump on the left side is only doing 25. The one on the right is 27. So it's probably what's giving me trouble with this airplane. But like I said, I'm not worried about it too much. All right, let's go ahead and get a couple quick little things all sort of sorted out here. We pull in a ton of amps. I just want to see. Yeah, we're charging the battery still, so that's going to take a few moments. But while I'm going to do it, I'm going to go ahead and get my flaps to 20. I find with this plane, 20 is just easier. If you do a flap 0, which you totally can do, it's just a little more exciting, I guess is what I want to call it, which I know that sounds like that shouldn't be something we ever do in aviation, but that's kind of part of the party, kind of a thing like that. All right. Now, Hobart, unfortunately, the way they set up the runways is slightly obnoxious, so we'd have to back taxi all the way, or the smarter thing to do is actually just do a midfield takeoff, which for this plane is not an issue. And I'll just go ahead and release the parking brake, and we'll start rolling. It's going to ask me, did you want to fill tanks? We don't have to fill tanks. You can actually do that from the little tablet. Now, a couple crazy things about this airplane itself. I'm not talking about the way that it was modeled, but just like some just general design things, is the nose wheel steering is not done with your feet or a tiller. There's actually a rocker switch for nose wheel steering, and it's an electric wheel, and basically you push it one way or the other. And one of the things that blows my mind is they had to recreate it down here too, so you're not like reaching up and over to basically go ahead and hit the steering control, which, like I said, that's just, what? Like, I don't know. And again, a lot of these things, design options, choices on this plane, really seem like I couldn't find a place for it, so I did it this way to be different. And it's just, I don't know. And of course, there's a couple other things, like the fuel valves on this thing, for example, are completely electronic. So when I hit the switch for the fuel valves, you actually hit, it's electric, it's a solenoid. It's not like an actual mechanical one. So if something goes wrong with that or we lose power, we can't turn fuel on and off. Like, it's just dangerous. I don't know. It's just the way I look at it, kind of a thing like that. All right, we're going to go slow down. I think our oil temperature finally got into the green. Another thing I had to learn about this airplane, which I thought was pretty wild, was oil types. I was definitely not an expert on all thing oil weights, but trying to get this thing to be cool, because I live here in the United States. It's very, very hot during the summer. And of course, I'm trying to do any takeoffs whatsoever. It was just overheating every single time. All right, Aussie Aircraft. Picked an unreal spot to fly. I used to fly around. Oh, that's awesome. Tassie. Oh, I was going to get to that. PS P3D. Oh, cool. Let's see here. Strahan. Is one of the most pretty spots to fly to. Excellent, excellent. So I've got Aussie Aircraft. I was just jumping in again. I can't run back and forth with the chat, kind of a thing. But I do have some trivia about Tasmania, which you can definitely correct me on if I've made mistakes on. So we'll get there when we get there, kind of a thing. All right, I'm going to do a very, very basic run-up on this plane. So we're going to do our flip. So we're going to make sure our flaps are set. We're going to make sure our lights are set. We're going to make sure our instruments are set. We're going to make sure our prop levers all the way forward. That looks good to me. And then any last switches is good, but we will go ahead and do a quick little run up here just to make sure everything's okay. Notice my RPMs are completely different per engine. So obnoxious. That one side is still stronger than the other. The spark plug. Oh, look at that. The right sparks are better on both sides. That's good. Let's go ahead and pull that to idle. See what it wants to do. Yeah, I like that. I like that. So let's go ahead and kick a little bit of power in here. Nice. And I have been to Australia, believe it or not. Not Tasmania. All right, last couple switches. This is the S and flips. So we're going to hit those two. We're also going to hit our auxiliary hydraulic switch. That's just in case we lose it on a takeoff kind of thing like that. All right, we'll check the approach. It seems like nobody's joining us today. That's okay, though. Oh, one last gander. Make sure it looks good. Make sure it looks good. Let's hit it. All right. Very, very lovely. Actually having a little bit of trouble seeing here. Oops. Not bad. Not bad. Oh, doing too many things at once. Gotta be very cautious of that. Hey. Enough. All right. Line ourselves up. All right. Let's go give everybody a little victory wiggle. Make sure it's working. Looks good to me. Looks good. Looks good. Feels good. Feels good. All right. Everything is good. RPM is good. Our position are 276. We are ready to go. Let's do it. This is so the danger zone right here. So the danger zone. In the event that we lose an engine, well, those wheels are still down. Oh my goodness. The right engine's got a hydraulic pump. So obviously if we lose that one, we're in a world of hurt. So the cool thing is when you put your flaps up, this thing just stops climbing for a second. It's just like a Cessna 182. But we have to basically race to get this plane cooled off, and you'll see what I mean. All right, that's about 600 feet. If I had to turn around, I want to get just a little more feet before I start reducing power here. Okay, let's do it. It's a little bit better right there. Nice. And we'll bring the RPM down a little bit. So the only thing I've learned, I've learned a lot about this plane. I've put quite a few hours on this thing in the last, since it basically came out. And one of the things I've learned real quick is if you want to climb, you just have to go fast. So don't bother with like 120 knots or 108 knots or anything lazy like that. Just go right up to 140 and just leave it there. One last check of all my switches. Looks good to me. And we'll just kind of bring it around. Oh, we don't see you. Let me go double check, kind of a thing like that. I actually don't know who Potato McWhiskey is. But Civilization 4 is kind of cool. Seems like a pretty cool guy. All right, let me fiddle with my networking settings here. I think I have to do escape for that. This one, friends, there's nothing there. Let's see here. Current group, that's pretty useless to us. Social, we don't have any of that. Online, usually it tells you automatic. It is ECUSA. Yep, it's at ECUSA. So I'm on that correct server there. Weird. I guess it'll kind of reappear in a minute. I do have it on all players. All right, so we got a good speed, good direction here. Of course, I'm going to go take a look at cylinder 5, which is always the naughty cylinder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see here, cylinder 5 here is chilling at 385, so we're doing great. We're doing everything we're supposed to do. Nice. Come down here. I'm going to go ahead and make a quick little adjustment to my throttles here. You can see I need to actually increase my left throttle just a tiny bit. You can see how they're cracked. I love that. And again, the black square people do a really, really good job of that as well. And the nice thing is it's just a matter of climbing. No cow flaps on this, so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Go ahead and kind of square some of this away. There we go. Probably climb at about 4.5. Well, it says 45 degrees, but about 4.5 seems to be pretty magical here. And that looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and release that, and I'll just kind of clean up my last few things here. Looks good to me. Looks good to me. Let's see, did the cabin warm up at all? 74 degrees. Perfect. All right, so that's working nicely. I'm going to actually drop the fan down to low. Don't have to worry about that. Temperature set good. We're just going to clean up the last couple switches. Landing lights are already off. We are awesome. And if I time this correctly, it should be about sunrise in Tasmania, right over Hobart here. And I love the fact that they put two airports basically right on top of each other here. Like, that's just so... Why do they do that? But again, one of the things I found interesting when I was doing some research and kind of searching around for this area is cricket pitches everywhere. The Hobarts, of course, produce excellent cricketers. It was just kind of fun kind of cruising around these areas down here. It's like cricket pitch, cricket pitch, cricket pitch, cricket pitch. And again, I coached cricket for a few years, so it's pretty neat to see, like, kind of a thing like that. I'm not sure what that is, but like I said, I'm not going to worry about that too much. Hey, there's the sunrise. I was trying to time properly there. Nice. Civilization 4 is a pretty fun game. I definitely played the heck out of it. The one I actually liked was Alpha Centauri. But again, find an Alpha Centauri player now. It's there's not as many of us, kind of a thing. Hey. For those of you who know your history, you probably know all about that bridge. And again, we have a lovely picture of that mountain, kind of a thing like that. All right, as we climb out here, we'll go ahead and take a look at the trivia I've accumulated. Our good friend Aussie Aircraft 908 there will help us out if I make any awful mistakes here. I've not been to Tasmania or Tassie. The one thing I have done is I've been up to Australia, Melbourne, and kind of that region around there. Got to see Squeaky Beach, and I've told some fun stories about that in past live streams. But let's see what I can do as far as some trivia about Tasmania here. I'll go ahead and tweak the time of day just a little bit later so we get a better look at kind of the terrain here. There we go. It makes it a little bit easier for everybody to kind of see what's going on. All right, fantastic. Let's go. Second oldest capital of Australia, founded 1804. Nestled on the Derwent River under Mount Wellington, which, if I am not mistaken, I believe that is that fellow over on that side, kind of a thing. He's got it. He's got it. But the neat thing here, very, very, very tall. It's very cool. There's like a little visitor center up here with like a little antenna and everything along those lines. Also a racetrack on my right there. And it's just absolutely cool. And it's just so many people basically live in this area. I think Tasmania has something like a population of, it's like a little better than 500,000. So basically Wyoming, for those of you who want to put that in United States digits there. It was a McDonald's per square eagle or something like that. My buddy always tries to come up with the most American sounding basically unit possible. A couple things here as far as stuff to check out. Like I said, this is my quick research on it. The Mona, which is the Museum of Old and New Art. It's one of the most crazy, awesome art museums from what I could tell. They're poking around their website there. Definitely some neat stuff that kind of came through it. The East Coast itself of Tasmania here. I'm going to play some tour guide here. It's very, very cool. Obviously, if you want to go back to England back in the early days, they basically sent prisoners down here. This was one of the serious penal colonies, kind of a thing like that. It is, again, there's a UNESCO site, I believe, for one of these penal colonies, basically on the side. A couple other things that are really, really wild on this side. Naturally, you've got the Maria Island National Park over yonder. And of course, they've got the Wineglass Bay. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of that peninsula there. I'm going to basically butcher it, kind of a thing. But apparently, they have some of the nicest beaches on planet Earth, kind of a thing like that. Current heading for me, Simon, I'm on a westerly heading. It looks like it's a 270 heading for that particular point there. So that should get us coming along pretty nicely as far as that goes. And I've got an MSG warning here. I do have to level this plane off in a second. Let me go concentrate on my flying. And then I'll go back to putting my little plaid vest on and red cap. Then I've got to get the plane all leaned out. That's going to be such a pain in the butt. I'm just happy I'm able to keep the cylinder temperatures reasonable, because I can't tell you how many times I fly this plane. It's like 415, 417 like degrees, and it's just awful. And click. Should do it for us. We got to give it a second to settle. Temperature is perfect in here. Actually can come down to probably a click here. That'll come down to 35%. That should be plenty, and the blower's already on low, so we're good. All right, let's do some work. Okie dokie. Alrighty. I hate this part. Boop. All right, lean find. And this one's tough. I'm not gonna lie. Before I do that, I'm gonna get that just a little bit more on the nose. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Like I said, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Bring my RPM down a little bit. Like I said, you can't really get it. Like the 2 RPM gauges are kind of their own. What I'll try, actually, you know what I'll try to do? Simon, now that you're asking, let me try something. Let me manually set it to East USA, kind of a thing like that. East USA, I'm manually setting it. So maybe there's something about automatic that is working or not working. I'll take a peek out the back here. I don't know what it's doing. I've got everything turned on. All right, back to the obnoxious chore. So one of the fun things is, the Cessna 182, one of the planes I get to fly from time to time. And when I say time to time, this hasn't been recently, unfortunately. Doing the mixture is actually kind of fun, because you pull it back and the engine you can actually hear it change pitch slightly on you. And you pull it back a little bit more and the engine almost shuts off, and it scares the crap out of you and your passengers. And it's like, oh, I found it. And then you just push it in a little bit and kind of forget about it. I appreciate the fact that we have these lovely EGT gauges on here. It makes it a little bit easier. Honestly, I'm going to pull this back to like 54%, and that'll be it. Let's see what we're going to get up to. Like I said, 1450 is probably fine. Notice my right engine's not burning as much fuel as my left engine. Surprise. Also notice that it's hotter. Who built these engines? Can't you folks do better tolerances? Yeah, I basically got it perfect. It's a 1437. I could probably go a little bit more. Again, we're 7,500 feet, so we could probably pull it back a bit. And again, you'd have to do these separate from each other in the real world. This is actually pretty hot. Let me see if I can go a little bit more. I'm watching cylinder 6 here. Watch this, watch this. Although cylinder 3 is the one that's super duper hot on that side for exhaust. Watch this. You're going to get the peak found. Peak found. Watch this, watch this. There it is. Told you. And there it is. We'll go up to about, we'll call it 45 and see what it, we'll see if it settles at 45 here. 1, 2. All right. Yeah, actually, we want right past peak. And we'll go to 50. Like I said, it's going to end up being like 56 or something like that. It is every time, I swear. Yeah, I hate to say it, but it's actually probably going to be that much. I'm just trying to get this to about minus 50. We'll put it to 55. See, the ones I like are when they give you the chart of this is how many gallons per hour versus what power setting. You set the power setting and just do the gallons per hour and not fiddle with EGT. Then it works pretty well. All right, I declare that close enough. All right, everything else should be good. Let me just take one last look. I don't know what the deal with the RPM is. I'm not going to fight it. You can actually see everything went up a little bit. All right, let me get my little tour guide hat here. Okay. Northeast and Midlands, kind of a thing like that. A couple different places. You have Bishano. I'm probably pronouncing that awful because, again, I'm not. My Australian pronunciation is garbage. It took me a while to realize it's Canberra, it's Melbourne, you know, stuff like that. Melbourne, kind of a thing like that. Brisbane. But I do the best I can. We have the Bay of Fires, which apparently has white sand beaches in orange lichen, which is pretty darn cool. There's the Tamar Valley wine region, which is probably some of the nice stuff. And for those of you who are wine fans, you got your Pinot Noirs, your Chardonnays, and sparkling wines, because this is a colder climate. One of the things that kind of hurts my brain here is we're going south. My brain says hot when you go south, but we're actually getting closer to one of the poles, so it actually is cooler than the regular Australia up top. And it's just one of those things I think is so cool. As far as other things in town, you've got, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one. I'm going to get Lanston, I guess I'm going to call it. I've got Tasmania's second largest city. It's got a really neat urban canyon kind of a thing like that. You've also got the Queen Victoria Museum, for those of you who are hysterical. That's what my mom would always call it. You've got the Cradle Mountain in Lake St. Clair, which is going to be the national park. Beautiful glacial landscapes. Like I said, we're not flying over that at the moment, but that's kind of located sort of inland. Your Central Plateau, they call it the Land of a Thousand Lakes, which I think is actually kind of funny because I think of Minnesota when I hear Land of a Thousand Lakes. But again, you can just see this absolutely stunning, basically geography here, and I find it so incredible. Definitely got some off land here. I'm a little curious why this is white down here. Probably an anomaly in the way they took their pictures or something like that. But absolutely cool stuff, kind of a thing like that. When you get all the way out to the west coast, of course, you have the Franklin Gordon Wild Rivers National Park. Again, you had once home the Sarah Island Penal Colony, for those of you more hysterical, like I said before. Gordon River, you've got Queenstown, again, for copper mining and things along those kind of a line there. Fun little facts, too. Like I said, I got my cheat sheet today. Tasmanian Devil. When I think of Tasmanian Devil, I think of Taz, obviously from the Warner Brothers cartoon. Looney Tunes, I actually don't remember. I'd have to check that. But apparently it's a marsupial that screeches, and that's the best I got. And if I was a much, much better YouTube host here, I'd go get a picture of the thing. But I'm always afraid of like violating copyright or something, especially when you do a stream and you can't take something back that you want. Another really, really amazing piece of trivia I found out is the Palawa people here have been on this island for 40,000 years. And that if that doesn't hurt your brain, like that should just fry you. Like, I can't get over that. Like, they always talk about, you know, the United States, like, oh, 250 years, yay, kind of a thing like that. And it's like, England's like, are you kidding me? And then, of course, Egypt's like, are you kidding me? Meanwhile, the Tassie over here is like, are you kidding me? So it's just kind of one of those things. It's just absolutely fascinating when you kind of think about it that sort of a way. A couple things, too. When I went to Australia many years ago, 2005, I want to say, I went to Australia. Like I said, I did the Melbourne thing. Had a lot of fun. I basically went with a buddy, and we just basically bummed around the city and kind of the whole region for a while. I was talking to people about Tasmania, saying, you know, what do you think of Tasmania? And, of course, our host, she was a very interesting lady, to say the least. But one of the things that she had commented is like, oh, we kind of think of that like you think of Mexico and the United States. I'm like, but they're just south of you. That doesn't justify a kind of a thing like that. So I did some poking around to try to find out what the deal with that is, kind of a thing like that. And it's it's interesting. I guess there's definitely, again, the mainland versus the island, even the both islands kind of a thing. You're always going to get kind of those different kind of cultural heritages, kind of different pieces as far as that goes. But one of the interesting things I was reading too is they always joke about having two heads down in Tasmania. Something that I would love for somebody to clarify, but it's just kind of one of those sort of ongoing jokes. They're like some doctor was basically saying something along the lines of, "Hey, did you hear they had gout or something like that because there's not enough iodine?" It's just kind of one of those things. It's kind of fun, kind of a thing like that, and it's just absolutely wild stuff. Let's see here. What else I have on my nose? They have something called the Dark Mofo Festival, which I just love the name for that because in the United States, mofo, maybe not the same thing as a mofo, and that's just, I don't know, kind of fun. Like I said, I love stuff like that, kind of a deal like that. And like I said, should be traveling at 7,500. I know. And we got to do all our engine checks and everything in a minute, but we'll do that when we get there. Okay, let's talk sports for a second here. So Australia. Yes, okay, I've been confirmed in the two heads thing. So Australia, they love Aussie footy. I've played Aussie footy. One of the things we did when I used to coach cricket years ago is we played Aussie footy, like kind of like when we couldn't play on the field, sort of a thing like that. And it's like somebody took soccer and rugby and jumping and sort of ran into each other, and like the game never stops, and it's fabulous because they boot the ball like 50 yards all the time. And it's just one of those things it's very entertaining of a sport, and they get very, very, very serious when they watch it. And I'm just trying to think. Got to see, when we were in Australia, we did not see Aussie footy. We got to see the regular football match, kind of a thing like that. And obviously, you have cricket. And of course, you got your rowing. Sailing apparently is a really, really big thing coming out of Tasmania. Apparently, they do crazy things like go from Hobart up to like Sydney or Melbourne because it's like right there, kind of a thing like that. But that would be one heck of a journey for us as far as flying it. Well, on a plane, it would be pretty easy. Something along those lines. A little different. All right, let's see what else I have on my note here. Something called the Lark Distillery, if you're into whiskey. And that's apparently absolutely fabulous. But again, they've got a lot of other things. We're also closer to Antarctica down here. So some of the research points, you'd probably go down to New Zealand in order to get down to Antarctica, just for the sake of, like I said, it's a little bit closer of a distance. Again, Antarctica's, it's like 1,800 miles that way. So incredibly, like I said, that's a bit of a ride for us, kind of a thing. So it's just, like I said, they use a little bit of that. You get your penguins and stuff up here too, which I just think is kind of cool. Like I don't know. I don't really see penguins unless I go to the aquarium or something along those lines, kind of a thing like that. All right, let's see other fun bits here. The population, something called Tasmanian Gothic. If you're looking for kind of a combination of styles, it's again that colonial style with the really, really amazing literary and visual art style. It kind of has its own look to it, which is just neat. Again, back to Land of a Thousand Lakes there. You can see a whole other bunch of things like that. And like I said, never been to Tasmania myself. I've gotten close to it. And one of the funny things is when I was in Melbourne, our hosts basically looked over, you can go to the Melbourne Bay and kind of look down, like, I don't know, there's like a reef, not a reef, but basically the way it kind of curves outwards. And you kind of have the bay here. I was like, that's Tasmania. And I'm like, really? Like, again, I didn't know what I was doing. I'd just been in the air for like a day. So, of course, they're like, no, it's that's not Tasmania. It's much, much further south. And it is. And again, if we went to pop up to Melbourne real quick, it would be a little bit of a journey for us to actually do that. So I'll go ahead and take a look at my other notes. But one of the things I did want to talk about is this airplane. And unfortunately, I can't turn the volume down when I go outside easily. But this is an interesting airplane. And like I said, I've been spending a lot of time. Like, this is the last time I've flown a plane recently, other than the Beechcraft 60, the Duke. I actually like the one with the engines and not the one with the turbines. I like the one with the turbines, but the engines are just so picky. This is neat. This is a very, very, very neat airplane. And it does a lot of things really, really well. And it also is downright sketchy. I actually need to turn the heat up a little bit, which doesn't surprise me a little bit. But let's talk about it. So first of all, this airplane was developed, basically grabbed by the Piper Company. The original OG version, the 600 comes from how many horsepower it has. That's actually not correct. We are not 600 horsepower. We're actually 50 less. We're 550 horsepower. But these are really big 6-cylinder, powerful engines. Again, 275 horsepower apiece on these things. And a couple things he chose to do with this airplane that kind of surprised me. The first one is there are no cow flaps. One of the really amusing forum posts I was reading was describing how to find the cow flaps handle. And they basically had you get a thing out of this. You had to get the little component out of this drawer. Then you had to climb in the back. You had to remove this seat. And then you had to slide this one backwards. And then you had to get to the panel that was back in here so you could reach in within 3 or 30 seconds hex key. No, there's just no cow flaps on this thing. And that kind of blows my mind because this is a very, very high performance, very high, basically complex aircraft. And you can't even keep the thing remotely cool. Like I was doing touch and goes in like 70-degree weather. And after my first touch and go, I had already basically, my cylinders were like 415, 420. And it's like I wasn't trying to be rough with them. It's just, that is just the nature of this plane. One of the things I mentioned earlier, of course, we had our little rocker switch for nose wheel steering, which is crazy. Like I said, it's I can't get over the fact that you'd have to reach up here and kick that thing. You still have differential braking, so that's really important because you could probably get away without hitting this, but I cannot imagine holding onto this, and this when you're taking off. Gosh, that seems incredibly dangerous. Or if this is at the wrong angle or something like that when you go to land. I had a landing in the real world about 2 weeks ago, and it was not the most pleasant wind shear. And I hit the front wheel just right, and I could feel it in the pedals that I hit it just right. And I'm like, yikes. Like, not that I was going to break anything, but there was a legitimate moment of, holy crap, that could have been really bad, kind of a thing like that. But that just gives you an idea of how sketchier this has to be. Other really interesting quirks with this plane, the fuel system, I kind of hinted at that a little bit earlier, but let me come down here for a second. And you'll notice here, it's either on, off, which you're familiar with, but there's no, just give me the left wing. It's not like that in this plane, but there is a cross feed that basically skips the middle. You'll also notice very prominent fuel gauges here because basically the FAA said you cannot let one of these fuel tanks run out of fuel. Bad things happen. So what they did is they made everything much more obvious. Like I think there's even a placard in this plane that screams at you that says you cannot fly it if you have the low fuel warning on. It's too dangerous to even try it, trying to get the cross feed right, trying to get the balance of the fuel tanks right. It's such a pain. But basically what happens here is, I can't draw this out, but if you want to visualize, all the fuel basically goes into the fuselage. From the fuselage, it goes out to the engines when these switches are set to the on position. So what'll happen here is as this runs down, these will start to run down as well. And the whole thing kind of theoretically stays in balance with itself. And I'll be honest with you, it usually does. And all the experience I've had with it, I've only ever had the left, again, my left engine's the weak engine here. How is the fuel pressure, by the way? Yeah, so my left engine's still being the weak engine. Although my RPMs are a little bit more aligned than they were a minute ago. So that's better, so at least we're warming up. But you'll notice that one fuel started to imbalance, and that causes all sorts of other shenanigans. Another thing I will say with this plane, with a little bit of experience with it, is that it is a Porsche. I think that is the closest way to describe it. It's very fast off the line, very heavy wing loading. Take a look at this. Look at this. You can see here our stall speed is about the speed I approach with a one. Actually, no, I'm down here with a 182. But even for the Mooney, that's a little bit fast for the Mooney of an approach speed. But basically, it's above the approach speed of many of the planes you probably grew up with. The other thing I find super interesting here is you don't have the little blue MCA line on here. It's just keep it in the green at all times, kind of a thing like that. But this is a very high wing loading plane. So like I was mentioning earlier, I was actually flying in VR. This is a roomy plane, by the way. Like I was actually pleasantly surprised how roomy it is. It is pretty big. But flying this thing in VR in turbulence, you don't feel a thing. You can watch your wings dancing, but this remains pretty confident. Another thing, my goodness, the steering on this thing is so stiff and so responsive. I love it. It's very much like a Porsche, because you've got your center of gravity a little bit further back. When you crank on this thing, it's like snap turn. It goes. For those of you who know who the Baron 58, which I'm sure everybody who's flown flight sim has gotten some experience in at some point or another, you're very familiar with that kind of sensitivity. This is like twice that. The other thing that got me with this plane that I was not ready for is you don't really need a lot of rudder. The first thing I like to do, of course, is, muscle memory. For those of you who've flown the real world, you've got this muscle memory down, which is anytime you turn, you apply the correct amount of pressure. You basically don't need the rudder with this thing, especially at speed. And then finally, you can't slow this plane down. So one of the things you'll see is I actually got to take a look at how we're doing here. I think we're getting about 10 minutes out, kind of a thing like that. Yeah, we got about 10 minutes out. But one of the things you'll see, when I go to descend this thing, I push the nose down a little bit. We speed up a little bit, but then when I level off, we don't slow back down. Like, again, our landing gear speed on this thing, which is our biggest source of drag, is 156. So trying to get down to that speed, one of the strategies I found that actually came from the people who fly the Aerostar is basically to dive and pull up. The thing I like to do is slip the plane, because if you slip it, you can get your speeds down. Another thing, again, talking about all the cool things with this plane, again, I love planes that are quirky, which is why I love the Beechcraft Duke, is these flaps, you can start putting them down at 180 knots. which I think is amazing. And of course, you can't put the flaps all the way down at 180 knots. You can put them down to 20 degrees, but without that 20 degrees, you just won't be able to descend. One of the things I was doing is trying to come in for a landing, and I remember doing instrument approach, and I ran into a problem where I couldn't go slow enough. I was kind of cruising around there, and when I was pulling the throttle back, it was giving me engine warnings about overcooling the engine. And then, of course, then I'm like, but I need to put my flaps down. So it's like the ultimate consequence. And like I said, I can't get over airplanes like that. That are just, I'll try to be a little bit smoother for people kind of watching here. There we go. How's that? It's the best I can do with my right finger there. So you'll have to kind of hold on. But as you can see, we're actually approaching the coast. We've got one little mountain to get over the top of, and then we're going to be starting our descent down into the region. And like I said, this airport, it's a very narrow runway, but it's long enough. It's about 4,000 feet. We're not going to need 4,000 feet. We're going to need probably about 1,800. Again, depending. The big thing is, even though our speeds are so high in this thing, it slows down nice. The brakes are good. Other things that make this plane, to me, seem like a Porsche, the engines are very, very, very persnickety. Like I said, no cow flaps. Which means if you want to do anything with this airplane as far as, big speed changes or power changes, you basically just have to remember, if you want to go, if you need to slow down, you're going to overheat. Like anything under 140, you're going to overheat, even if you pull the power back. So it's like this bundle of contradictions. Like, I reduced the power, it should cool off, but now you're going slower, so now you're not cooling off. It's just irritating. Like I said, I'm not used to airplanes like that. You also have the really weird fuel system, as I mentioned before. It has a really, really interesting, like I was mentioning, let me float over to this. You'll get a kick out of this. Not showing on that or codifier. What are we heading for? Oh, thank you, Simon. I got you. Yankee, Sierra, Romeo, November is the airport we're heading for. If you want the name for that, it is STRA Airport, Strahan Airports. I guess I probably get that wrong. But one of the things is, you'll notice you have an auxiliary hydraulic pump on this. The flaps and gear are hydraulic. And that, my brain hurts thinking about that. But like you'll notice we have a hydraulic pressure gauge over here. You can actually pump up the hydraulics and then crank the flaps down and watch the pressure go, oh. Basically, the accumulator empties out. And it's like neat. All this does is turn on an electric pump if the one on the right engine dies, which, like I said, is just so fascinating how that works. And it's one of those things, of course, like I mentioned, if you lose power during, let's say we lose the right engine, we lose hydraulic pressure, which means your flaps and gear are going to be creating all that dangerous drag, which is why you 1,000% have to hit that switch. But again, you could theoretically leave that on, but if you shut your engine off, the auxiliary hydraulic pump will kick on. So it's, I don't know, it's just one more thing you have to keep track of in this plane. And then, of course, another thing that's really, really interesting is taking a look at just the, like I said, performance. It's just so fast, so sensitive, so twitchy, but it's also not good at like doing low-level buzzing and stuff like that. It just isn't built for that. This is definitely high-speed, very, very high-speed cruise kind of an airplane. All right, let's get ready to start our descent. I'll stop talking for a minute here. I got to go take a look if what I'm missing out here. Dinky D, I love that expression. Sorry, but that's fantastic. Australians are home with some of the greatest expressions for things. All right. And for those of you, won't comment on Mad Max. There we go. Let's see, it's about 8 minutes. We definitely have to start descending. We're about 27 nautical miles out here. All right. Oh, crack my back. All right, so we can't descend yet because there's a mountain in the way. But descent in this airplane, it's such a snap. Basically, just push the nose over and wait. I like the fact that you can trim it. One of the things I've been doing for my own real-world pilot growth is doing more work with trim. It's one of those things where it's, in a flight sim, you don't have to work very hard in order to make the controls do what you want them to do. In the real world, it can be. So one of the things I was looking at, and I'll probably do a video on this in a few weeks, is basically trimming for landing. And it's something I'm still trying to get the hang of it. It's a very new idea for me. Where basically you set your landing speed, get your flaps, get everything ready, trim the plane so it's hands off, and just fly the plane down to the ground like that, but basically not touching anything. Problem is in the real world is like, especially where I fly, there's almost always wind shear. So it's one of those situations where it's like, you can't really just let go like I am right now. But like I said, part of the fun. All right, let's take a look here. Actually, one thing I do want to check, because we're about to cool the plane off. Hey, look at that, 72 degrees on the nose. I've had some practice. All right, everything's good. Everything's good. Everything's good. I'll just go ahead and run through some quick little checks here. I don't know what the VFR frequency in Australia is. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 2,000 or something like that, but I don't actually know it. All right, west, this looks good. Compass is aligned. Nothing on the DME, there's no VOR or anything where we're going. Let's just take a look. Just want to check everything. That's pretty fine, pretty fine. I love the fact it's red when it's unsafe, but it never goes out. Again, every landing gear company has a different way of doing it, but it's kind of interesting. All right, that looks good. Oh, good. That's fine with me. That's good over here. Go check cylinder 5 real quick. This will be the naughty cylinder on the descent as well. 364. Look at this, though. Look at cylinder 1. 309. Gee, oh, no, cylinder 2 is the cold cylinder. Interesting. So, like I said, one of the aircraft I do fly is the 182. You can sit here and play with the JPI all afternoon, because that's basically what you have to do in the real one, too. All right, let us descend. We're going to go ahead and pop off the autopilot. All right, check this out. So now that we popped off the autopilot, just what I was saying a few moments ago is how responsive this plane is. It is just, like, amazing. And again, now you can see that there's the little bit of whoa with the yaw. If I go ahead and snap the rudder like that, snap the rudder with that, it's unbelievable. Like, it's just so responsive. And I love that. I love that in an airplane. All right, let's start back on our way down. So descent here, basically push the nose over, get about 1,000 feet per minute, and you don't really have to touch much. One thing you will have to do is back the power out a little bit, because as we descend, we're not turbocharged or anything. It'll actually start to kind of catch up on you. So I'm going to back the power up a little bit. It's going to be about right there. One of the things you'll find interesting is my cylinders don't really change temperature. It's just the way they're cowled. I don't know, it's just weird to me. All right, so our destination should be pretty obvious. I'm looking. It should be right there on the left, I think. But again, like I said, you'll be able to see the runway. It's not hard to find. But notice I'm pushing the nose over here and getting 1,000 feet per minute. Not changing the power, but I'm still getting 200 knots. It's just like, what the heck? Who designed this thing? Actually, I can look that up. I think that's one of my notes here. Just looking over the nose here. Let's see. Pop Rocks plays 65. You asked, what are my computer specs? Let's see if I can do the short version. It's an Intel, it's an i9, it's a 14850K, 64 gig of RAM, solid state drive. It is a GeForce 4090. So it's pretty high end. It's pretty high end. Hopefully that answers your question. I don't think there's anything else that I'm forgetting. Yeah, I don't think so. But it's a nice computer, and I'm very, very, very stupidly spoiled to be able to get something this nice. Oh, we are way too high. But it's okay. We're going to basically do a blitz around the valley there before we come in for our landing. Just getting a nice little look here. This beautiful bay. Where's all the sailboats? Definitely hear the wind in my ears right now. That's it, right there. Right there. Got it. I know if I looked, I'd see things. Man, this thing is just... Oh, it's just so fast. And the controls are so stiff in the best sort of way. Notice my worst cylinder is only cooled down like 30 degrees. Like, that's nothing. Also appreciate the fact that the compass is absolute chaos. It wouldn't be that bad. And it just sounds like, again, there's no turbulence, so it shouldn't be that bad, but it will mess up a little bit. All right, we're getting a fun little piece of trivia here. I love it. Trying to break into Australian on a cloudy day was very difficult. Again, this is somebody who was mentioning they'd flown here before. You let down over the lighthouse and over water and work your way through Hell's Gate, the bay opening. Oh. Oh, that's correct, Pop Rocks. Oh, is that the... you'll have to tell me, Aussie Aircraft. Is that the Hell's Gate that you're referring to? Because we're basically going to have to do that to slow down. Look at that. Oh, this is so beautiful. I just love stuff like this. Like I said, that's one of the reasons I keep flying. You know, it doesn't... A lot of what I wanted to do with flying never really panned out, just because availability or whatever. I'll be honest, it's weather. Weather is the number one. It kills 95% of my intended flying. But this is what you fly for. Is, you know, you love the view. And one of the craziest things in the universe... Let me see if I can simulate this real quickly here, kind of a thing like that. Is when you go to Australia, when you're in the dark area, you can actually see this. This is the rest of the spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy. And the first time you see that, by the way, not that it like shuts your brain down, but like you just are not ready for something like that. It makes you feel so small and insignificant in like everything under the sun. It is just incredible when you see that for the first time. And I remember basically saying, "Oh, let's hope there's no snakes," kind of a thing like that. It's like, "Oh, lovely. I don't mind it." My wife's like, "I don't want to go to Australia. They have big spiders." I'm like, "We have big spiders too." What is it? You spend like 95% of your life within like 6 feet of a spider or something like that. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. All right, looks pretty good to me. Hey, look at that. Yeah, that's our runway. And we'll be landing south to north today. Not bad, not bad. I feel bad that nobody's going to get a picture with us because the stupid thing isn't connecting properly. I definitely set it up correctly, and I did see some players earlier this morning. I don't know why it's being weird. Check that out. Yeah, we're basically going to do a power blitz through that. That is so cool. To my left a little bit here. Oh my goodness. All right, let's start getting ready for landing. Like I said, we're still 5 minutes out of landing because we have to slow this thing back down. And as I was mentioning earlier, it does not slow down. It just has this weird obsession with speed, which I'm okay with. But like, at least the Baron you can slow down pretty quick because you get such a high speed for the landing gear. But this thing is just, it's a project. There we go. There's our runway. Runway 36, north facing. Look at the size of that field, man. If you miss the runway, you got a whole swamp you can land in. Pop Rocks asks, how long have I been flying in real life and in The Sims? Okay, so my flying story began in 2010 when I took my first flight lesson. It was in a Cessna 172. It was an N model, and they had modified it with a much, 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 much bigger engine. We got to go around the bay here and kind of slow down. And I remember my first flight and just full power for the first time ever and just being surprised how legitimately loud everything is. Like, you play the flight sim or something like that. It's obviously, it's not going to be too bad, kind of a thing like that. But I did that for a bit. I did the quite a while. I met my wife, our future wife at the time, kind of a thing like that. And you had to pick one. You could either do flying or you could get married. And I have a wonderful, beautiful wife, and I made the right decision there. And it was kind of one of those things where, just something I had to put on the back burner for quite a while. Right after COVID, years had gone in, I'd taken care of my master's, 2 master's degrees, all that other stuff was all finally done. So I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to finish up that flying thing that I did. So I basically, a local flight company, I went over to them, say, hey, I want to finish this pilot's license thing. So they said, sure. So I said, cool, let's do it. So we did it. And it was basically over summer because I teach, so I had some time. But, I was flying like almost every day for like several weeks straight, kind of a thing like that. And the real joke there is that, I had all my hours and everything I needed, but I couldn't actually take like the flying test for, it was like almost 9 months later, just because it's so hard to schedule those things because there's not so many CFIs around. And it's just, or not CFIs, DPEs. That's the correct term for it in the United States. Here it is. This is a lovely devil's mouth right here. So, of course, that happened. In 2021, I got my pilot's license. So it's kind of funny. I definitely did not do well on the test the first time. I just wasn't prepared. Was not prepared. There was just so many things that just, you do things a certain way during flight instruction, and then you have to do it for yourself. And I just wasn't there. Took it again, no problem, perfect score. I think the final comment there was, you have wonderful control of the airplane, but made fun of me for not being organized, which is correct. That's 1,000% accurate there. I love the sun and everything, but I need to be able to see just a little bit better. Go away, sun. There we go. Oop, too much. There we go. Much better. Cool. All right. There's our runway, and believe it or not, I might have to go around. All right, sorry, I had to get concentrating. All right, slip, 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 slip. All right, this is the Ballo. So now we have to slow down so we can get our wheels down. Sorry, I'll finish my story in a second. Yeah, we might be in a go-around situation. Watch this, watch this. All right, so in 2021, I got my pilot's license. Finally finished my pilot's license, I should say, kind of a thing like that. And that was fun. That was fun. Like I said, there's a lot to it. And I remember my first flight ever as pilot in command. And it was like, flying. I actually was flying my wife, I think, for the first time. And it was just so awkward. Like, you've been working with flight instructors so long when it's now finally your turn to do something. It's like, kind of a thing like that. That was fun. But I've been doing that on and off. I got a flight club nearby. My primaries are Piper 3, Archer 3, I should say, Cessna 182, and when I can, not anytime soon, there's a Mooney 20. Now, as far as flying in the sim goes, that's a little different. The first flight sim I ever flew was on a TRS-80. You had dual joysticks. It was called Corsair, I think was the name of it. And that goes back, well, actually, it was P-51. I remember my very, very young 5 to 10-year-old self having absolutely no clue what I was doing. So if you want to go back that far, you can. Got much more serious with it when I got a proper computer, which would have been probably the late 90s. So, geez, I don't even want to know what the number on that's going to be, kind of a thing like that. Is anybody else getting that new thing where when you get close to the ground, you get really bad frames? The steering on this thing. Yeah, but I've been doing that ever since. I will not say that I am the best at it. I definitely know I'm not the best at it. I need to put a lot more time into it if I want to be that much better at it. But definitely over 1,000 hours, that's for darn sure. There we go. Let's go ahead and slow down. Now, normally at this point, I would say, let's go do the picture, everyone. But unfortunately, everybody's, for some reason, they're not showing up. I don't know what the deal with that is. Like I said, I turned everything on right this morning. It just, sometimes it can be disagreeable. So I guess I'll take a picture with that nice little mountain in the background or something like that. All right, so we have made it all the way to the end. So what I always like to do is I like to say, is there anything you'd like to see on the channel? Is there anything I'd like to do more of? Anything that I can do better? Obviously, keep in mind, I have limited time to put videos together. So some of the requests are like, I just can't do that, kind of a thing like that. Let me go ahead and get myself with this nice dramatic picture here. The best thing is I can get out of the plane to do this. Ugh. What do they say? Oh, God. I'm going to go do something like that, kind of a thing like that. There we go, right there. Oh, Rick. Oh, so good to see you. Long time. Long time. There we go. That will be our awesome little picture there. I'm glad to hear that. I love helicopters. When I was in high school, it was my dream to become a helicopter pilot. And like, I'm going to go, I usually do something stupid, and I'm going to go do something stupid. Oh, but it's with this plane. I don't want to do something stupid with this plane. Oh, I'm so you know, I'll do one touch and go. I'll do one touch and go. But because I like the comment about helicopters. I love helicopters, and they are some of the hardest things to fly ever, and that's why I love them. With an airplane, when you do your first lesson, when you're done the lesson, you sit there and go, you know what? I could definitely do this, see myself doing this someday. When you do a helicopter lesson, you sit there and go, I don't think I will ever be able to do this kind of a thing like that. Yes, that would be awesome. And that's the big thing with helicopters. And helicopters, I hate to say it, you just have to have the right controls scheme. If you're sitting there on like a Logitech X, Y, and Z Extreme 3D Pro or something like that, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to fly a helicopter unless you put all sorts of fun assists on. But if you're in a situation where you have a good setup and you're willing to put in the time, helicopters are just amazing. Like they're so rewarding, I should say. I'm going to go do a touch and go because like I said, I like helicopters. It's my stream. I can do what I want. You know what I didn't do? I didn't turn on my fuel pumps. I didn't turn on my auxiliary. That was very risky with an A2A plane. But I'm having fun, so too bad. There we go. I like how my right engine... We'll have to do an inspection of the oil when we get back down, too. All right, let's go ahead and bring it back around. I'm glad that. And like I said, I'm happy about that. I love helicopters. If you want to have a lot of fun, go look up Simcopter. For those of you who've not seen Simcopters. Pop rocks. Sometimes I actually do stuff from the real world, and I bring it into my stuff. I have a GoPro, but again, I have to have the time to do it, and that's flying is stupid expensive, and it's very difficult for me to do that because I am my own crew, kind of a thing like that. But I do some flying, so if you want to have some fun, if you go to my channel and type in KPSF, you can see me actually landing a real-world plane at a real-world place. It's actually kind of wild. I also did a flight where I went up to Keene, New Hampshire, and basically did the entire flight side by side. So you can see what it looks like in the sim, and you can also see what it looks like in the real world. So go check that out if you like. All right, I'm going to do a better landing here. I'll actually do it properly this time. Properly. Better. Yeah. I'm not going to lie, Rick. I'm probably going to have to stop rear-world flying unless I get a career change. We just met with the investment guy the other day. Oh, if you think anything is expensive, wait do you feel the burn of spending something that's, you know, $1/1000. It's a lot of money. That was better. That was a lot better. All right, I had to redeem myself that first one. It was okay. It was okay. All right, any other QA or questions, things you'd like to see? Apparently, I need to do some more stuff for helicopters, and apparently I need to do some more real-world stuff. I love that. I think that's perfectly good stuff. I enjoy it. Like I said, helicopters, it's my passion. I just wish we'd have an R22 for Flight Sim 2024, because the R22 is the most irritating thing ever developed that leaves the ground. And I've flown a lot of things that are very irritating leave the ground. What? Dude, I'm not even close. Come here, come here. Give me that popsicle stick. Give me that popsicle stick. Nice. All right, let's go shut her down. And like I said, I'll keep an eye on the chat for a few more moments here. Gotta shut everything down carefully in this plane, unfortunately. Just get everybody done like that. That's good. I'm not gonna shut it off that way. I did that once already by accident. Nice. One of the biggest mistakes you can do is not let the engine shut off and hit that. It's a good way to get a bunch of fuel in the bottom of your cylinders. All right, let's see here. Just renting a multi-engine complex. 200 an hour? That's it? That's awesome. I know that, Rick, you're sitting there going, that's a lot. But for us, that's how much the 182 costs per hour, at least where I live. So it's quite a bit more. All right, let's go inspect the oil, and we'll kind of take a look here. Make sure that's all set. Make sure that's good. Last check. Yeah, theoretically, I didn't shut those off, but that's okay. I'm so glad to catch that. I love it, Aussie. I love it when people from the area can tell me. Like we did like Czechoslovakia one time, and it was awesome because we had people from that region able to tell us stuff. 20 years ago. Oh, 20 years ago is $200. Okay. I was going to say, I'm actually looking into my multi-engine license, but like I really need IFR. It's fine. We didn't have any issue there. Of course, did you see what I just did? I just checked oil on a hot engine. Do you realize how awful that would have been for my fingers? All right, last chance. Like I said, this is fun. I love this region. I love Australia. I want to go back. I really want to see New Zealand in person. Did not realize how nice this area was. This is so pretty. All right. Yeah, I was going to say the oil should be perfectly fine. Again, you would never check oil like that. You'd burn the hell out of your fingers. All right. One more giggy thing that you can do in this plane. One more. Let's crouch. Go underneath the wing here. Ah! Come on, Flight Sim. I do it all the time in the real world. Check this out. All right. Ah! No, check this out. Now watch this. All right. See that key? How it goes around like 9 times? That's the most authentic thing this plane does. No, but watch this. All right. Oh, yeah, so our baggage, it actually did throw us off, which is cool. Oh, let's check this out. Good. Notice my cylinders that are the hottest are in the best condition. What is the deal with that? All right, I think this is a good place to pause. Thank you, as always, folks, for joining us on this. Like I said, I enjoy doing these things because I just get to fly somewhere neat. This is a really cool plane, and I definitely agree with the first comment today that between A2A and Black Square, man, they're getting very, 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 very close to each other in quality, and I think at some points they're definitely exceeding each other in certain elements. But as always, enjoy, and hopefully we see you again next time. Enjoy.